Hey, so I wanted to create a quick video because I've seen a lot of conversation about mortgage rates right now. And what I find is when I ask people if they're aware of what mortgage rates used to be, most people have no clue. I think in most recent years, like in the last 10 years specifically, people have gotten really accustomed to very low rates. So I wanted to show you the Fed, what they show, the interest rate going back to 1971. So I'm guessing this is when they first started documenting or recording the mortgage rates. So back in April of 1971, the interest rate was around 7.3%, right? Now keep in mind the US came off the gold standard in August of 1971. So that's when the dollar was no longer tied to actual gold deposits. So as you can see, after that, it dropped for a little bit, still around 7%, 7.5% actually. And then if you notice, it just kept going up. Slight dips here. Mortgage rates went all the way up to around 18.5% back in 1981. So 10 years, it more than doubled, right? Now, since 81, it's been lower. It's never been back up to 18%. So we can see where it's dropped, coming down here. 87, it dropped down. Still, it was like 9%. Because I was telling people, I remember hearing about double-digit mortgage rates, like 10 and 14%, and that was the norm. And go through here through the 90s, still hovering around 7%. It drops just a little below 7%, then it's right back up. And you can see this silver line, well, not silver, but this line coming straight across. Never mind the numbers moving at the top. 7.5%. Come all the way over here. It's not until around 95, 93, where it dips below 7.5%, 7%, but then it goes back up slightly, and then we dip just a little bit below 7, up and down, up and down. So hovering around the 7.5% range. So my guess is that the Fed is going to definitely try to get us back to 7.5, but it's very possible that we can hit some double digit, like 10% interest, because look how long it's been since we've been above that. It was almost 18%, 18.5%. It's been on a downward trend ever since. And these little shaded areas here, these are recessions. So this is the 08-09 housing bubble. This is the .com crash. This was back in 1991. This is back in 81, 82. This one was back in 1980. 1974, and this little slim one right here was COVID. So like January, I think it was February through March when the stock market started crashing. And look at the interest rates way down here. So we got spoiled with these 2-point-something%, but since 1971, we haven't had mortgage rates that low. So the reason why I want to record this is because a lot of people are hesitant about purchasing a home. And the thing about it is I think it's going to be a very trying time for renters, because here's what happened. A lot of people who had mortgages here, when they were around 7 or 8%, even 6 and 5, they refinanced down here when it was like 3, 4, 2%. Right in here, for real, like after COVID, it got crazy low, like 2%, 2-point-something, close to 1%. So these people refinanced these more expensive mortgages. Well, these less expensive. Well, they were more expensive as far as the interest rate, but then the housing prices went up, but then the interest rate went low. So what happened? A lot of these people refinanced to a higher mortgage, meaning the actual price of the property. So what does that mean? If their mortgage is higher, they're going to have to charge higher rents in order for them to make money on their mortgages. And this is the thing that if you're renting, the next few years can be very trying for you, because you're at the mercy of other people's mortgages. This includes apartments. Any commercial building, any sort of real estate, they have some sort of mortgage on it, whether it's a single family home, they have a mortgage, or whether it's an apartment complex or a high rise, there's still some sort of mortgage that they have to pay. If their mortgage is higher, your rent is going to be higher. The beautiful thing about mortgages is that most people get a fixed mortgage, meaning your mortgage rate is going to stay the same for probably 15 or 30 years. Whereas if you're renting, your rent can easily go up every year. Some are being raised sooner than that, and some are being in situations where the person is turning around and say, hey, you know what? We want to sell our property. We're no longer going to rent it. So if you're thinking about buying a house, look at this chart and just see where interest rates could go. I'm not saying that they are. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying historically, we have had interest rates up to 18.5% back on October 16th, 1981. So if you're thinking about purchasing a home or you're on the fence, I would lean towards purchasing a property so at least you can lock in your mortgage rate and you know what you're going to pay every month for the next few years. Because when you're renting, you don't know what's going to happen. You could be forced into a situation where you have to move into a less desirable neighborhood, and not just desirable, a less safe neighborhood, and maybe even moving back in with your parents to restructure and get things back in order. So we're already at 6.something%. And remember, 7.5 was where we were in 1971, and we were above that until quite a while. So buckle your seatbelts, folks. And if you're thinking about purchasing a home, I would suggest it so that you can at least have some sort of control over your monthly living expenses. All right. If you found this video beneficial, give it a like, give it a thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces.